Okay, my sister's 87 911. I just pulled it out of storage for the winter, and she's coming to pick it up, and she says, "Oh, do you mind doing an oil change for me?" And of course, I didn't say no, so I got to try to get this on the lift and change oil real quick. Unfortunately, I got to wait for an oil filter because I wish I could have ordered a Porsche oil filter, but getting one from Napa, not sponsored, but going to change oil on this thing real quick. And that's the nice thing about 911s is that they really don't, they don't have coolant you got to worry about. Brakes I think are bled, those are fine. She just drives. She probably puts like 1,500 miles a year on the car, so just going to put it up in the air. I'll go over it a little bit to make sure nothing's loose, but just drove it to the parts store to get the oil temperature up. So I'll put it up in the air and let's just get this oil change done. Well, luckily I had some space in the shop, so I moved the Ferraris out of the way and got my sister's car in the lift and up in the air. Just making sure I got the right jacking points. Porsches are pretty easy. They got 4 little points, is really obvious, down by the rear sway bar mount and also by the front corner of the car. You can see where the jacking point is, and then it goes up pretty easily. So let's take a look at what's underneath this car. This engine was probably done about 20,000 miles ago, maybe 10,000 miles ago. So it should be pretty good to go. Just looking at what I got to do. This is the dry sump. So it's a dry sump engine. So I got to pull that drain plug out. And the other one is in the center. These later cars had the side fill as opposed to the plate. So that one has to open up as well and drain that. I don't see any really bad leaks underneath here. Everything kind of looks like a normal, car. I mean, it's not a show car, certainly, but I don't see anything bad. I mean, CV joints look good. I can see that I put some grease up there last time for the heater control valves to make sure that those things are kind of working. So on these air-cooled cars, the heat exchangers, these are kind of like they're radiators. So what happens is the exhaust headers come out, go through this box, and inside the box is kind of like on other tubes that are not connected to the exhaust, and then the exhaust heats it up and then sends it hot air up through there and then goes to the engine, to the passenger compartment. It's actually pretty efficient. I mean, I know that people say VWs are not that efficient, but Porsche heat is pretty efficient. I mean, when you think about the exhaust temp that's coming out of these things are probably like 700 degrees or 500, 600, 700 degrees, and that goes and heats up the air that then you're sending into the passenger compartment. You can't get that kind of heat with coolant, which maximum temperature is around 200 degrees or 100 degrees Celsius. So Porsche heat is pretty hot. In fact, I remember one time when I had the heater valve stuck on my old 911 and my wife was riding in it, and she could feel her shoes melting in the footwells because the heat was so hot. So if this thing's working properly, Porsche heat is pretty efficient. But you just got to make sure that it's not those valves up top. You can see where I put lithium grease up in there just to make sure that it stays kind of moving, and it's got to be exercised every once in a while. I'm just looking in here. I'm probably going to just grease some of these like throttle linkages and things like that while I'm here. And that's really about it. What's nice about 911s is that all they really need is oil. No coolant involved. I don't see anything. I see a little bit of an oil leak. It looks like something's leaking in the front over here. Not sure what it is, but could be just the front. Yeah, this valve cover is leaking a little bit here. I've seen worse. Not going to really worry about it, but it's a little bit of a valve cover leak. It's got the turbo valve covers. I don't remember if 87s use the heavy duty reinforced valve covers, but I know like from my car early, in a 72 that I had, that was the upgrade, was that you would get the turbo valve covers, which are these ribbed ones. So they say that they're more reinforced, they don't warp, so you'll have a less chance of having an oil leak, although this one is certainly showing oil leaks anyway. But this side looks pretty dry, so that looks pretty good. Let's see what's going on down here. It's just standard, you know, driving in the summer, getting a little bit of road salt, a little corroded. You know, like I said, I don't see anything bad or anything like that. It's just a car. So what we had done a couple years ago was put an upgraded air conditioner. So what we did was we just replaced all the hoses that go back to the air conditioning. So all of the, you know, air conditioning hoses are all new, installed and put in for just to upgrade the air conditioner. This car, my sister wasn't driving it as much because the air conditioner wasn't working. And these Carreras, the air conditioner wasn't as good. I mean, I think by the 90s they started to get better. I don't know if Porsche air conditioning has, I think the modern ones are certainly better. I know that my 996's air conditioner works great. But in this era of the 80s, not the greatest air conditioner. So when they start getting old and they start losing pressure and they start getting clogged up, it really makes a lot to be desired. So I think that when my sister was talking about air conditioning, I said the best way to do it is just replace the whole air conditioning system, hoses and everything. So that's what we did, and so far it's been working pretty well. I just found one problem here. This brace is rotted, so that's gonna have to be replaced. I'll have to see how that is attached. It looks like it's I'm not sure. I'll have to look, but that's unfortunately that's gonna have to be replaced. We have to figure that out. What does it look like over here? Well, there isn't one. Oh, there it is. So I'll have to look into how we're gonna replace that brace. Always open to suggestions if anybody knows. Is that a welding issue or what? But yeah, that's something I just saw. So let me get this oil change going, and then we'll go from there. So one of the other things I wanted to deal with on this car after changing the oil was to deal with this. This will definitely ruin your day. So this car, the last time it was at a shop, they told me that number 4, which I guess is this one on the back, this cylinder, had a bad spark plug. They said that there was a problem with it and that they didn't feel comfortable changing it. And I said, okay, well, I'll have to deal with it. So we didn't change that plug during the last plug change. And I've always had it in the back. Car ran, it didn't misfire or anything like that. And I said, well, you know, there's no sense in dealing with it until I get some time. And today I figured I'd just take a peek and find out what's wrong with it. So, yep, the threads are all galled. So, that's not good. And on top of it, it was number 4, which is underneath the air conditioner compressor. But the good thing is you can get better access. I removed the air box, and I also removed the oil filter since I was changing the oil anyway, and that gave me a little bit more access in there. Once I got the plug out, I realized that the threads were probably all chewed up in there because of this galling, because as I backed the threads out, it probably chewed up some of the threads coming out, so they really needed to be chased. Initially, what I wanted to do was try to use this special tool that is a pretty neat tool. What it does is it expands and contracts. So what'll happen is you can basically make the threads really narrow. You slide it into the cylinder, and then as you turn this knob, it expands the threads and cuts the threads from the inside of the engine out. And what that does is most of the time on strip threads or cross-threaded spark plugs, it's cross-threaded from the top, and then it's chewed up, and the bottom threads are pretty good. So what will happen is if you can get this tool started at the bottom, and then as you back it out and you use the wrench to turn it backwards, it'll recut the threads, so you can slowly cut better threads and then chase the ones that have been damaged and get it to run straight. The only problem with this tool is 911 cylinders are way deeper, and there wasn't enough room to get in there to turn the threads to get it below and then still be able to reach this knurled up. I thought about modifying this tool somehow, but the other thing I decided to do was just use this as just a chase, a thread chaser, and put tons of grease on the end of it, and then set it to a setting where it was not all expanded, and then just cut it from the top down, and just kept working it, taking it out, cleaning out the threads and the grease, and then chasing it back down a little bit more every time. Really tough to video, and also at the same time really tough on your hands because it's such a limited access, especially with the one that's underneath the air conditioner compressor. But I managed to chase it down pretty well. I got all of it cleaned up. I mean, you're hoping not to drop a lot of debris into the cylinder, but again, you know, it is what it is. You have to kind of do. The only other solution is to pull the engine. I mean, that's the problem with these when you damage a spark plug on one of these things. It's like, you know, nobody wants to work on them because you know, it's just for a stupid cross-threaded spark plug. You're going to have to pull an engine to fix the head. But once I got everything in place, in order to keep from getting cross-threaded, just use one of these tools. Just get a spark plug boot, put the spark plug on the end of it, and then you can feel as you're threading the spark plug in. You know, don't go putting it on a wrench and then or socket and just start the spark plug. It's just too dangerous. You know, once you get this tool and you get you just get a spark plug boot and a 1/4-inch extension, that way you have a really good feel for how that thread is going in. And I got the new spark plug thrown in and fired it up, and everything's running. So car's good to go, and you know, and we can have another season of driving. Thanks for watching.